It's funny, is that I was interviewed for something that's going to be on mainstream TV, which I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about, so I will use broad strokes. Just last week, and they probably recorded like an hour of footage, and I bet I'm in it for like 5 seconds.
I was literally dripping of sweat because I kept dancing. I had the suit on, the blazer on, and everything, and yeah, it was mental.
The player base of FM is growing a lot, and you can tell also on social media that there's a lot of people coming into the game, and that bubble is not the small bubble it was a few years ago.
But he's now in prison, so never mind.
I mean,
didn't get tricked there, did he?
Don't ask me to explain why.
I thought I was going to the shops.
I've never been like work, and I'm like, someone's like, good job. I'm like, no, I haven't. How dare you come in to tell me that?
Right? It's just so unrealistic.
How dare you? Like,
I'm just going to be like,
I need a teammate, and I'm telling everyone about this.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the FM show. I am your host Tony Jameson, joined as always by my right hand man RDF Tactics aka Arron Falloon. We also have the wonderful Maggio with us as well, and an extra special guest making her FM show debut. Everyone say hello to Mooonostreams. Monique, how are you, pal? Are you well?
I'm good, yeah. How are you?
Fine. No one ever asks that. No one ever asks that.
Why not?
We pitch it. We give all the guests the great introduction. How are you? And they're like, oh, yeah, I'm brilliant. I've had a fantastic time. Thanks very much, Tony. Here's my save. Pleasure to be here. No one ever asks about us. So thank you for that.
You didn't know how to react. You just shocked for a moment.
I didn't, mate. No one in the house even asks how I'm doing, so this is brilliant. Well, no, thank you very much for being here. It's great to have you on. It's one of these ones we've planned it for a little while, and the original reason we were going to get you on has been delayed slightly, but we'll come back to that a little bit as we're talking through. I do have to address the fact, Monique, before we come back to you. Arron's bought a mic arm. Right, for the audio listeners, this is probably not going to make any sense to you, but if you're watching on YouTube, Arron has found a mic arm, and he's currently got it extended as long as he possibly can. So I reckon that next week's show he's going to be recording in the garage. It's
like the long thing that comes out the mouth in
Alien. I haven't quite worked out. Because like I said, I found it by an accident, so like the setup is not for it. It's not prepared for it, and I can't really be bothered to move anything. So, yeah. I like it like this. I don't know. It just feels a bit... I keep playing with these like two knobs as well. So it's a nice thing for me to fiddle on. Pause.
Yeah, just for context, Monique, before Arron discovered he had a microphone arm, he balanced his microphone on 2 books. So this is a big step up for him.
There was about 5,
Pro
6
streamer, clearly.
Yes.
Yeah, there's about 5, 6 books there, yeah.
Yeah, so he's giving them to a charity shop now. Doesn't need them. He's got his microphone arm. Sai, how's life in your world, buddy?
Not bad, not bad. I'm all the better for having read the article about the FM World Cup in GQ magazine, and I would like to share this little bit about Arron. Would you like it? Would you like to hear how Arron is described? So, Arron, who can conservatively be described as a character, is responsible for more than half the competition's aforementioned drama. He yelps, squeals, and bounces his way through the tournament like Bruno Fernandes after too many Smarties. When one of his team's defenders scores an outrageous goal and runs off with the opposing team in celebration, runs off with the opposing team in celebration, Arron's reaction is to immediately substitute the traitorous player and exclaim, "I'm done," and put his head in his hands. This is Danny Dyer's funniest football foul-ups for the TikTok generation. There we go. That's our description of Arron in GQ magazine.
I was laughing so much. The part
Bruno
where,
Fernandes and too many Smarties.
Yeah, that made me laugh. But when it's like, "I'm done," I was like, that is literally me. That's my tagline. I'm done.
I think that might be the thumbnail for next week for this show. I mean, I can't disagree with any of that, to be honest. That's the problem. I can't disagree with any of it.
It was a nice bit as well. And there's a part in the little magazine as well where there's got like my picture and there's like a little description underneath it as well. And yeah, it was just like a nice little thing to to see and read. I'm not gonna lie to you people. I didn't read all of it. I just waited to see my part, and then that was it. No, because to be fair,
Did you send it to the whole family?
Yeah, I did. But to be fair, before the World Cup started, he did like interview me in Twitter messages in a DM. So I thought part of that was going to be in there. None of those questions or answers were in the actual magazine, but I prefer this version that's out anyway. Yeah, that was.
Oh, really?
That's a
So
nice
there's an
little
extra
article.
interview that's going around somewhere that's not actually in the magazine. So you've essentially done a Patreon version of the interview.
It's funny, isn't it? I was interviewed for something that's going to be on mainstream TV, which I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about, so I will use broad strokes. Just last week, and they probably recorded like an hour of footage, and I bet I'm in it for like 5 seconds, just like with some soundbite, and that's it. Then they get rid of me, shoo them off.
Well, I mean, this is the thing, though, Si. Like, you know, you're now in the firing line, though, because you're Sports Interactive's Si Maggio. So
That's
depends
true,
upon
that's
what you're going to be filmed for. Because again, I mean, it's 2 weeks on, and you're still taking pelters in the comments, mate. I don't understand where it's coming from.
People were surprised today that I took the side of a Reddit post that said that the experiments are mostly nonsense. Not the fun. I think people confuse the difference between like
they
the
got
fun
confused,
experiments and the serious experiments as well. Yeah, I think a lot of. I mean, yeah, of course they are. You can't get enough data. Let's not get into it. Let's move on.
Right, we will move on. But before we do that, though, Monique, I am going to ask your opinion first of all. Then on the FM25 news, I know it's still raw at the time of recording, but like, where are you at with it? What's your stance on it? How do you feel?
At first, I really wasn't that bothered, to be honest. But it's sinking in a little bit. And I'm realizing how coded like the release is to me. Because right now, in my head, it's almost over. And we're almost going to get the new game and like enjoy new saves and all like fresh start. And now that is like 6 months out, I'm panicking a little bit. And like also losing a bit of interest in FM24, where I'm like, okay, but what am I going to do now? Because it's still a long time before it comes out.
So is it just like sort of thrown off, like you're saying there, like your internal clock essentially, like, because I think we are all slightly conditioned to November is when it comes out. That's when the game is. We forget the fact the season starts back in October, in August, sorry, and it's like right, no, November. Everyone gets it for Christmas or whatever, and now it's like, do we get this game for Easter? That makes no sense at all because the season's almost finished.
Well, it's a little, I don't know.
To be fair, I remember saying that I mentally checked out of FM24. So I'm just like back streaming it, and to be honest, I'm having like the time of my life. So can I do a save up? Can I do a save up?
You can't mentally check out when I've just seen what you've done today, right? Stop it, you're taking the mic, right?
So we've got a little save on Twitch, and first I'm streaming on YouTube as well. And we picked, so Jay Stansfield, like a lot of money gone to a League One club. And I just thought something fun. So I remember tweeting out, I just want to manage Jay Stansfield and football manager. So I just picked Birmingham, not thinking too much of it, just like Birmingham rebuild. And this is tend to where the best saves come from anyway. When there's no plan, he's just like, I'm just going to do it for fun. And then we just got promoted from League One, obviously. Promoted from the Championship, which is still all right, but it's still doable. And then we got promoted to the Premier League, was like, all right, mid-table, European football at best. And then it just like, we just kept winning, and then winning. And then we managed to win the Premier League. Like, it's just crazy, like back-to-back promotions and then Premier League winners. It's insane, but it was just such a nice thing to do it, like, in front of viewers. Obviously, the achievement was good, but it's still, like, I remember mentioning it before, I still feel like I'm pushing a new way of playing the game and, like, looking at the opposition managers' traits and that sort of thing and constantly adjusting it. And, like, I made a joke when doing the network saver. I mean, I'm like, oh, it's all about the extra 5%ers when I'm doing it, because people are like, why are you taking so long? I'm looking at the opposition manager. So now, like, when you actually win something and you look back at the results, I'm like, see, like, if I didn't man mark him or if I didn't do this, we might have not won that game. And then that's what obviously got us the points and won the Premier League. So it was, that sort of stuff. It was really nice to show in front of people as well. Like, there's not just you have your tactic and you just continue and play. you can actually tweak literally every single game. It got to a point I was just tweaking for the sake of it. Like, I wanted to feel like I was doing something. So rather than just going into the game, I was like, it could be anything. It could just be man marking, opposition instructions. That I just felt I needed to do something from what the opposition manager's doing. And it was just a nice thing to do. But the achievement was absolutely insane. Yeah, I couldn't hold it in. I went absolutely mental. I was literally dripping of sweat because I kept dancing. I had the suit on, the blazer on, and everything. And yeah, it was it was mental.
Can I just ask, how many years then did it take you to win the Premier League with Birmingham?
Just the 3, yeah. So it's literally league. So first season League One won that. First season Championship won that, and then first season the Premier League won that. And it's crazy because we still have like a few players from League One, like Lee Buchanan, the left back, Ethan Laird, the right back. Obviously Jay Stansfield, the reason why we're there, and it's just insane. But there's just so many things. I remember at the beginning of the season, there's a striker. I can't pronounce his surname, but his first name is Lucas. He's English/Polish, and he's getting on a bit. But he was the captain from first season. And people like sell him, and when we got to the Premier League, and I'm like, nah, man, he's highly influential in the hierarchy. I'm just going to keep him. Might not play games, but he's just going to be in and around the dressing room, talking to the young lads and doing all of this. And then again, like when you're winning the Premier League, and then I'm going through my squad, I'm like, we even got this 37-year-old. Because and obviously a bigger achievement in that as well is we had the youngest average age in the Premier League, the lowest wage thing in the Premier League as well. I think the average was 33 grand was paying. And the lowest international cap, we had 1 international cap in our whole team. And like, again, winning I think it was the goalkeeper as well, Dennis Seaman, playing for Germany in a friendly. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, lovely achievement.
Yeah, okay, so accidentally winning the Premier League after 3 years with Birmingham, accidentally winning the Champions League with Everton. I mean, right. Monique, I'm going to come to you instead. I can't talk to him anymore about FM24. Right, okay, right, I can't. Every time he says, "Oh, I'm just going to play this safe. I'm just going to win everything by accident." Right? What have you been? What's your saves been on FM24?
So, like right now on stream, I'm playing with Cambuur. Mm-hmm. It's Dutch second tier, or not anymore. I've taken them to the Eredivisie. Mm-hmm. That was quite a challenge. But I mean, it all started out as a journey, man. And I was at St. Pauli initially. I was so bad. It was painful to a point where we were last in the table. And like in real life, they were doing so well that I was like, I'm a fraud. Like imposter syndrome fully kicked in. I resigned. I was like, I can't do this. I'm doing them dirty. And then Cambuur took me in. And initially, I was also pretty horrible over there. But yeah, I managed to figure it out. And in the Eredivisie now for the first season, it's winter break and we are second in the league. Not sure how that has happened, but I'll take it. And now I'm trying to lose some games because I don't want Champions League. I don't think we will survive there.
Yeah.
So let's see.
So what's the philosophy then? What's your, like, if you describe Monique Ball to people, like, what would that be? Have you got an actual plan, or do you just sort of go in and sort of like see what you've got and work with what you've got, or do you go, I've got this, we're going to work towards it, and I'll build what I have to do?
I am horrible at tactics. Like, I have no clue what I'm doing, so I try things and I pray and I hope it works. And I accidentally managed to loan a really good striker. So then we had 2. So I'm playing like 2 up front right now. It's just working out pretty well, like with a target forward on support. Because like this guy has 20 jumping reach and 16 heading. Ooh. We've dubbed him Papi. And he's my hero. He just heads him in whenever I need it. I appreciate it. It makes me happy.
He's got to have the near post on lock as well. The near post corners on lock.
Yeah. I mean, the guy is like 198 or something. So
you need your fullbacks crossing from their own 18-yard box for that guy. Just like pump
the
ball, just get it up to him.
Yeah, don't even look up.
Also, it took me so long to figure out like how to make him score, because initially I think we went like a whole season without him scoring a single goal. That was horrendous. I was ready to sell this guy. I hated him. But then I just started crossing everything to the front, and that ended up, his gold drought was saved.
Nice.
We like that. We like that, don't we? Don't we, Si? We like a bit of a guy that you can turn around a bit of misfortune from.
Yeah, I think you've just got to, make the most of what. Sometimes, like, that's the problem with a save. Like, I'm discovering this with Bilbao's save. Making the most of what you're left with. Sometimes you've just got to work with, around the injuries or around the players that are there, rather than just buying in like the best wonder kids. And,
I was going to say you're definitely restricted in your scouting. To be honest, aren't you? To go, are they Basque? No, can't sign them. Okay, are they Basque? Yes. I'm going to let you into a little secret. Well, it's not as much a secret actually, because it's a very open secret now. After last week's episode, when we were talking to Llama, who was giving us loads of great save ideas, and if you haven't watched that, by the way, go and check out last week's episode. It was brilliant. I asked on the podcast, have I got time to do the Pentagon challenge? And everyone laughed and said, no, Tony, you haven't got time to do the Pentagon challenge. So I started the Pentagon challenge, and it is going as badly as you would expect. So that's where I am. Well, right, not badly, but I loaded it all up, and I added some extra leagues in, because I was like, well, look, the vanilla database is just South Africa for the African side of things. So I thought I'll add some more nations in and make it harder for myself, clearly. So I've got some good nations in there, and I've got some more in Asia. So started employed, thought I'll do the Asian African side first, and I'll load things in as I go. And day one, load it all up, and then I clicked apply for all jobs, forgetting that I had the 3rd division of the Ivory Coast turned on, and all the under-20s and under-19s and under-23s jobs. No. So I had like 400 notifications on day one of like, you've applied for this job. And I'm like, oh God, this is going to end badly. So I spent a bit of time sort of like getting through all those. I got offered the Malaysia national team job after like one day. And I was like, well, I probably shouldn't take an international job at this moment in time because I don't need the Pentagon. So I sort of filtered through a few things, turned down the Italy under-19s, turned down working with Bielsa as well, got offered the chance to manage a club who was sat bottom of the Chinese Super League and had been relegated, having failed to win any of their 22 league games that they'd played that season, and had only scored 2 goals. And I was like, you know what? That feels like a me team, but no, we're not going to do them. And then there was a team called Dreams in Ghana, and all I could have in my head was a pun of dreams can come true. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't just have that as my constant vibe. And then I took the Black Leopards from South Africa.
What nation did you say Dreams was in? Sorry? Ghana. Is that the right to dream?
The right to dream, maybe. Don't know.
In Ghana, yeah. So I think they're linked with like FC Nordsjælland. If we're talking about the same team, yeah.
Yes. They're part of that network, aren't they?
Yeah, what a job that would have been.
That would have been good, because I took the Black Leopards instead.
Yeah, I've been watching.
Which is still pretty good, but I've got no left-backs. And then the 2 left-backs that I brought in are rubbish, despite being really good. So I think I've just bought idiots. And I'm now trying to get a 4-4-2 working in South Africa. And it'll be fine, I think. If not, I can move somewhere else. It'll be all right. It's the whole point of that save, surely.
It's not the same team, just to clarify for Arron.
No, it's not. Yeah,
the Right to Dream is just a youth program.
Academy. Yeah,
there is a team called Youth. I quite like the Ghanaian and South African and sub-Saharan African team names. You get some fun ones in there. Hearts of Oak in Africa. 11 Wise. How's 11 Wise for a team name? Dreams obviously is there.
We've got the Hungry Lions in our league as well, which is quite good.
Yeah.
So if you've never managed over in Africa or Asia before, I recommend it. So where else have you been then, Monique? Where else have you been in FM24? Have you just stayed in Germany and Holland, or have you been further afield?
I mean, in my free time, I'm playing with Tokyo Verdy right now.
Nice.
So J1 by now, but started in J2. That's a very fun one. I'm going to Japan in 2 weeks, and I'm hoping to drop by to go and watch a game. So I figured that could be a fun save then to play while I'm there as well, to keep myself entertained on the train and planes.
How many Tokyo teams are there? There's a few, right? I think.
There's quite a few, I think, yeah.
Have you found where? Because it's a big city. Have you found where the stadium is?
It's far from where we're staying, so...
It's like, isn't the city something? How many people in Tokyo is it? It's some ridiculous number.
It's
like, you think
crazy. I
London's
don't know
big.
the exact number, but it's insane.
It's like probably more than the population of the Netherlands, right?
Probably. I mean, the Netherlands
big.
has 17 million, 18 million people.
14 million people in Tokyo. There you go.
Okay, so a little more in the Netherlands, but I think we
Yeah,
have a little
not-
more
not
space
much.
as well. So
Yeah. I like what you've done with it. You've spread it out a little bit. Just right, not everyone's going to live all together. Just have a bit of time, just you go over there, and then a few kilometres we'll get someone over here as well. That'd be brilliant. So I suppose we probably should find out then, Monique, what got you into FM, and how long have you been playing it as well? Are you fairly new to it? Are you fairly old to it? Or what's the story?
I started playing, well, I downloaded the game. It was free in the Epic Store.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it because it's right before COVID hit. And I remember I downloaded it because I saw a tweet of a Dutch politician who said, I was playing this game and all of a sudden it was like morning. I was months in, seasons in, and like I lost track of time. So I was like, okay, I mean, if he's saying that, then I should like have a look. So I remember opening it, and I think I've looked around for 15 minutes, and I closed it because I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah,
It was just complete information overload, and I was like, I don't know what any of this means. And then the pandemic hit, and desperate times called for desperate measures. So I gave it a shot again, and I've been addicted ever since.
I think it's a very familiar story, isn't it, Arron? That first look and going, there's a lot going on here, isn't there?
Yeah, but it was the story that I've never been, it's so relatable. The playing it and the next minute you look up and it's just bright outside, or it's getting bright outside. You're like, whoa, where's the time gone? This is why I play on full screen. I don't want to see the clock at the bottom right. I just play full screen. None of that windowed mode business. I don't need no warning about bedtime. Just let me play in peace.
Also as well, Si, I love the idea of, could you imagine any British politician tweeting out that they play FM? It just, for some reason, it just doesn't quite sit, does it? Could we have a cool one?
I mean, you think that, but who was it? Someone immediately after they got elected out last time round. It wasn't Foot Manager, but they tweeted out their picture of their Warhammer. And I thought, that's like, why you hide this stuff?
But it feels a little bit like when you get those interviews of like, oh, hey, David Cameron, what songs have you got on your iPod? Like, it's all that sort of like...
Which team do you play as? Aston Villa, no, West Ham.
Yeah,
You know,
like,
you can't even
I
remember
play
which
as
team's
Manchester
which.
City. Like, oh, come on. Like, that sort of
Manchester.
nonsense.
Oh, which reminds me, a side note, horrible person in prison now, but... Robinho, if you remember the old thing about Robinho, and the famous quote was he always went to Man City, and he thought he was going to Manchester United. Turns out that's true. He came out in an interview and said that's true. He got tricked into going to Man City.
Yeah. Oh, where did I see that? I saw that the other day as well.
But he's now in prison, so never mind.
I mean,
didn't get tricked there, did he?
don't ask me to explain why he's
I thought I was
in
going to the
prison.
shops. No, turns out I'm not.
There was also Paul
You can
Pogba, right?
Google it.
Like
he's not in
yesterday
prison
or
for
2
going
days
to
ago.
Man City. Their 110 charges don't extend to that.
But there was Paul Pogba like 2 days ago, right? He said like a similar thing, that he was, well, it's not a similar thing, but he was at Manchester United and something about Manchester City was showing interest, and if it was like a different time in his life, he would have went. But I think at that time, his house got burgled and there was like a few things going on. He just wanted to get out of Manchester, so that move never happened. But that would have been crazy. Paul Pogba from Manchester United to Manchester City. Yikes.
Okay, interesting. He's going to be free transfer as well, isn't he? I suppose, at the minute. So would you buy him? Would you buy Paul Pogba? I don't know.
I think
It's
he's
almost
still banned at the minute. I don't think it's been overturned.
I think
it's got reduced, right?
He can train. He can
They
train
reduced his
professionally
ban.
now. I think that's what it is. He could train professionally and he's still banned for like another 5 or something like that. Maybe March, I think.
Sorry, I should point out we're treading very, very slowly into real football chat at this point. I feel terribly uneasy about it.
Also, the way more serious part of real football chat, which we should probably avoid and stay light-hearted.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, is there anything that we can make? Is there like some beach balls or something? Is there a funny mascot we can talk about? No, there's not. Let's get back to FM instead then. So Monique, pandemic's hit, right? You've looked at this game and you've went, what the fuck is this, right? You've eventually just went, you know what? We're not allowed to go anywhere. I might as well just learn. Like, what was your thought process then? How did you learn? Do you remember who you took as your first team? Do you remember, like, what was the thought process of like, well, how do I get into this? Because you clearly wanted to get into it. What made you persevere?
I think I really have always had this thing that if I don't understand it, I get mad and I get frustrated and I want to understand it. And I couldn't stand the fact that I did not know how to play this game. So I think that made me really desperately want to figure it out. We're like, well, almost 5 years ahead now. I still don't have a clue what I'm doing half the time. There is so much to FM that I'm still like figuring out. But I do think like slowly I'm starting to get like the grips of things. And I remember my first save was with my local team. It's with Helmond Sport, so also Dutch second league, like my favorite. I mean, it's called the Kitchen Champion Division, so I feel at home there, obviously. But I remember that I just like, how do I make a tactic? So I think I Googled something like Tactic FM. And then I was like, oh my God, you can download them. That's incredible. And then I managed to get Helmond Sport in one season to the Eredivisie, or like to win the league and get promoted. Then next season we got first in the Eredivisie, and then the season after we got Champions League. And we were winning everything, absolutely everything. And I was so proud. And now when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, you downloaded a meta tactic.
And RDF says thank you for that. So,
but the thing is, again, like that's why I was saying earlier, like doing these streams now is nice, right? Because I see this in the same thing. Like people said, "Oh, I used your tactic, but now, like I know how to blah blah blah." So it's like it's done. It's like for me, you know how I do my videos, like how my videos are and how I want to pull it forward. It's not like, hey, download my tactic. The link is down there, and like I'm going through it, hoping that even if you aren't trying to use this, you can take a little bit of information from it, or he got that to work like that, so I can now implement that into my system and that sort of thing. It was like my videos were never about. Some of them, yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's some like 4-3-3s out there that was just killing it. I'm like, yeah, get this one. Yeah, get this one.
You need some clicky
people.
tactics.
Yeah, but there's obviously that when I'm actually doing recreations, like they're not there to design to be like meta. They're obviously there to sort of replicate someone and for you to enjoy the game. Like I want to play like Mikel Arteta in Football Manager, so here's a tactic that can do it, sort of thing. Yeah, but it is nice sometimes to create that number one tactic. It's a nice feeling. As a tactic creator, obviously.
The thing is, I think Monique's right. You know, like if you are brand new to the game side, like the game gives you enough information, enough heads up of little sort of like pop-ups in the game that sort of shows you, hey, you might want to like look at this, or hey, this explains this, or this is what this means. But even then, that's a lot of information to take in. So if you are, we always say play the game however you want. If you are brand new to it and you are a bit overwhelmed, sometimes it is a case of just like, all right, what does a 4-3-3 look like in game? What are these roles like? What are these movement patterns look like? What are these setups and transitions look like? And starting with a download isn't the worst thing to do, is it? If you then learn from it and it gives you some context with which to start building your own from.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, you could just start with a preset as well. Like there are presets, but I can understand if well, for example, in Monique's case, you know, you didn't know that, you know, these were like overpowered I mean, they're not cheats, are they? They're just still tactics in the game. They're not. Maybe the top end ones might break the game in some way, but They're just things that are effective in the game. So I don't think it's a bad idea, as long as at some point you realize, okay, I'm actually going to, like, you know, I need to learn about how this bit works, right? I need to learn. Like, any other video game, it'd be fine, right? First time you load into Minecraft, like, if you sat there trying to work out how to do all the recipes. I remember when Minecraft first came out and I did this. And I was like, I didn't want to look up a guide. And I was like, I'm just not, like, as soon as I looked up a guide, it was like, oh, if you put the wood and the sticks together, you get a pickaxe. And it's like, holy fuck, like, now I can actually do some stuff in the game. And, like, you have to. You can't not do that. So I guess in that regard, it's similar to that, right? Like, you have to, you know, seek out some help online. You have to find out how you can engage with the game.
Like,
I think that's, like, why content creators are quite important, you know, the YouTube space. And something I've noticed the last week, I'm going to get back into, you know, people ranting and stuff. It's like there's a lot of, you know, a lot of negativity around the idea of, well, A, that they might be dumbing the game down, right? Or B, the idea that content creators make content out of the game. And, like, both of those things are very, very important to a healthy ecosystem for Football Manager. You know, the game doesn't have to be dumbed down. Like, just because it's getting a new interface doesn't mean it's being dumbed down. And, like, some people were like, yeah, but I've been playing it for 20 years and I've never had a problem with it. Yeah, you've been playing it for 20 years. If I'd been using Microsoft Excel for 20 years, I'd be fine. But if I jumped into it now, I'd be like, what the hell is this thing, right? It's like, and they just bolt stuff on, things bolted on everywhere. Like, if you went into Football Manager now, I don't know, like, when we first started playing with Championship Manager or LMA Manager or everything, like, you had your squad, you had your tactic, no press conferences, no training. Very limited tactical options. You weren't setting individual instructions. You were just putting them in the positions on the pitch. I think I don't even think there were there even player roles.
There was lines. It was lines.
I don't even know if player roles were there in
Lines
the first
came
Football
in.
Manager.
Lines came in about 97, 98. There was nothing in the early 90s.
Yeah, there's nothing in the early,
like,
but then they started to introduce lines and sliders.
That's it. Yeah.
Sorry, Monique, we're reminiscent at this point.
I love it. Tell
oh
me everything.
Well, I think that's the point, right? So for, like, Monique coming in 4 years ago now, right? It's like it's a lot more difficult for anyone to find this game accessible, and it's why it's important that they do go back and rethink about how they're approaching the game. They do go back and, you know, make the game accessible to new people, make it interesting to new people as well. I think there are other things that they can do there.
I had one of my favourite Twitter interactions during the last couple of weeks, by the way, with Musterman, friend of the show, Musterman. Again, if you don't follow Musterman, you need to make sure you do, because he's like one of the best people in the world. He posted a picture about, like, saying, like, people complaining that the new UI graphics looks, quote unquote, very console-y, and he posted a picture saying that if it doesn't look like Champman 93, 94, he's out. And basically, Monique, Champman 93, 94, if you don't know, is just blocks, right? There is nothing else there. So I wrote the comment back of going, but it looks like a console game. And it's like, everyone wants it to look like that, but also doesn't. So I was like, that's lovely. I really, really enjoyed that. And as I said, you know, when you're brand new and you've done 20 years worth of playing this game, then you don't notice how much is there. But when you're brand new to it, you look and you go, I don't really think I know. And yeah, of course, if you're going to look for sort of some advice online, go to the advice that has the most views or the most recommendeds or the most likes.
Yeah.
Because the chances are it's potentially one of the better pieces of advice. You know, you're not going to go to, like, a tactic video that's got, like, 7 views. With all due respect to that video, it might be brilliant, but you're more likely to go to the tactic video that has 200,000 views and go, they probably know what they're talking about. Initially. So, okay, so that's good then. If you got yourself in that way, you started to get to grips with it and thought, right, pandemic, I'm going through it. What is it that you love about this game then? Because we've been playing it for years. We could wax lyric about what we love, but as a relatively new player, what is your main takeaway from this game?
Just how much you learn about football in general, and, like, random clubs that you would probably never encounter in real life. Like, I fell in love with, I can't say it properly, people from Sweden are probably going to laugh at me, but Ita Håkdas. I played them, like, last year, I think, and I still follow them on social media. They are, like, fourth tier in Sweden. And, like, I get so hyped when I see they're doing well. And, like, I don't know this club besides of, well, my interpretation of it, like how I ran that club, but you fall in love with football in a completely different way, really. And like, I didn't grow up with football. I don't have parents who are into football. I don't have friends who are into football. So I've never really been like a supporter of a club or anything. So for me, this was also a really good way to learn more about the game, and I've really enjoyed that.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that
Yeah,
love affair with a third division club in like some far off land. Like I keep getting messages about like, hey Tony, what's happening at Blythe Spartans recently? And, hey, have you seen what's happening over in Greece? And you know, we had like a link up with a club called Odds Ball Club in Norway, and it's just like, this is brilliant but really strange. Like Arron, I mean, you've probably courted friendship with 1,000 different clubs. Is there any club that
it's my Twitter. Like every time I go on my homepage and like just a random Spanish club is posting something, I'm like, I'm bitch like, why am I following? Oh yeah, that Football Manager said. That's literally my whole Twitter feed. Just every team I beat, it's like you just instantly fall in love. Like you buy yourself into it, right? You open up Football Manager, you're in the game, you're like, yeah, I'm a proper supporter of this club now. You go on Google, you start typing in the shirts and how much they cost and that sort of thing. Like you proper buy into it. And then yeah, my first thing is always go to Twitter, follow them. And yeah, it depending. If I think I can get a little mention or something, I'll try and at them or something like that. But yeah, I always go to Twitter and follow them. You have to, though, innit? Like,
Should we
otherwise you're a
chat
fraud.
for the Patreon about buying shirts on the back of how's that sound?
Oh.
Yes, because then I don't have to once again explain that I bought a shirt and it turned up and I got sacked the day it turned up. Let's do that. Let's talk about that behind the paywall.
Oh my god!
But Si, who's your little FM flutter? Who's your team that you fall in love with?
I'm trying to think now. I mean, I've got affinities with teams like Palermo, for example, but not, and I would play as them in FM. But I'm trying to think if there's one who I like. Gateshead. If you go back and watch the episode we did with Breezy, that Gateshead career that I had was kind of. That must have been FM 15 or 16 it was, right? And that was like in the middle of that wild career where I managed everyone and anyone. And like I went from England manager to Costa Rica under-20s manager or something. I don't know what I was doing.
You done Gateshead twice in that save as well, wasn't it? You'd started there and then went back, is that right?
Back.
Yeah.
I mean, Leamington I like. I've tried Leamington a few times. In fact, I've taken a few non-league teams. It seems to work every couple of years. You do the non-league to Premier League challenge. So I temporarily develop a little bit of a fond spot for them. But I don't know, other than that. Arsenal? Do you know what, Arsenal? I'll say Arsenal, but it's not just to praise
Arsenal
Arron.
get enough mentions on this podcast. You don't need to mention Arsenal.
Let's go.
So here's the thing with Arsenal. So back in the day, my team is Portsmouth. And back in the day, championship teams weren't in all the video games, right? Some video games they would be, but not all of them. I think Championship Manager did have them in, but I think LMA Manager only added them at some point. So I quite often, or if it was like I just wanted a short save, I would quite often take on Arsenal, right? See what I could do with Arsenal. Also because my stepdad's an Arsenal fan. And I thought, Arsenal could be a good little challenge, and particularly like around the late 2010s. I like the Wenger project with all the youngsters. They had lots of promising young players. You've got Walcott, you've got Gnabry, you've got Wilshere, Ramsey. Like it's looking kind of promising. Bellerin, like at different points. Obviously, Bellerin and Gnabry are a little bit younger than the other three, but I think like all of them together, you think there's a project there at Arsenal. Just a short project, just a quick one. But there's something you can stick your teeth into.
Aaron's having a little moment reminiscing there, isn't he? At that point, just got
Because a lot of the times as well, like once you start getting into Football Manager, you've played it a few years, you sort of stop being a team that you support, and you try you're literally working hard not to be that team. You're just picking anybody else. Yeah, so like I'm like that this year. I start it and I play a few games. I'm like, this feels wrong, man. I'm stepping on Arteta's toes. So I just quit it and start somewhere else.
Funny you should mention that, because I used to have that thinking as well. And
Yeah,
I don't know when
weird.
it was.
Like,
I
I
don't
don't
know when
want
it
to win the
was, but
league
it just
before
came to my
Arteta.
head.
Like, yeah, if I don't want to do it before Arteta does it. It's just so weird.
Or I wouldn't put myself in charge because I quite like the manager that was there anyway.
Yeah,
So I was like,
Reddit,
no,
yeah,
I
so
can't take his job,
yeah.
right? He's doing a fine job. I'll get the job later in the save. I'm not booting him out right now.
And then you struggle to sell players because you love them all, and you're like, "Ah, okay, but he can do a job. And then you don't want to bring nobody in. It's like, what is the point of me being here anyway? Yeah.
Yeah. Is this hitting any vibes with you, Monique, at this point?
Yeah.
What's your team?
I mean, I didn't grow up with a team. My local team would be Helmut Sport or PSV. So I do keep up with them. I have teams I like more than others, teams I really do not like.
Go on, tell us one we
Name
don't
them.
like.
Name
Which
them.
one? Which one?
If
do
it's
you like?
Arsenal,
Is it
I suppose.
Ajax?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's gonna go with
It's
Ajax,
not.
Oh,
No, it's like I don't like teams like PSG,
isn't it? Okay.
City,
The money clubs.
Getafe. I mean,
Yeah.
I can go down that road, but then we're getting political. So
It's fine. That's where I'm at. So I do that, and I take all the pelters for that. So yeah, feel free. Take some of the heat off me for a little bit. If you like.
They're going to call us the FM Moral High Ground show
Oh
soon.
yeah,
aren't
the
they?
FM Walk Show. We've been called several times.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, they keep calling me a woke cunt on the internet because I've said a little bit too often that I'm excited for women's football in FM, and apparently that is a horrible thing to
it's so
say.
weird.
So
I think people just attack.
Honestly,
I
go on,
think
Andy.
with me, I think people know that, especially like today, like a viewer will try something snarky. And my thing is like, a lot of times I can ignore it, but sometimes I'm like, people shouldn't just get away with just saying things. Like, that shouldn't be happening. Like, I should be able to say something back. And today was funny because I got really like hyped on things, just replying to someone, going back and forth. And then they start turning around like playing the victim, like, all right, it's only morning, why are you shouting? I'm like, yeah, it's only morning, why are you trolling? Like, that sort of thing. But
any moment they go, oh, but I'm just saying, right? That just means you've got no point.
yeah,
right?
literally that's what happened. But with the women's football, like, I don't get that response. Every time I say I'm going to manage, I'm lucky that I don't get that response, because I'm not gonna lie, anyone that tries to give me that sort of response, I'm just gonna go, aye. And I'm one of those guys. I don't stop. I don't stop until you block me. So yeah, I'm lucky I don't get that yet. It's not YouTube yet. YouTube is where it really is. Ugh.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
toxic.
Let's talk about this then Monique, because obviously that was going to be the main reason we were going to get you in to talk about this, because we were expecting the roadmap to be women's football's announced, all the information is going to come out. We as a podcast have openly been hyped about women's football since it was first announced 3 years ago, and we thought, right, we're finally getting close to seeing what's going to happen, and we were planning things around it. Where was your head at prior to the announcement of the delay, and has that shifted at all?
I was really excited. I mean, I was invited to SI. I also was at the pre-launch party to celebrate the addition of women's football, which was crazy to even be invited to something like that. So I was very excited. I had a lot of faith in the game. Also, after speaking to the developers, I got a lot of stick for that afterwards, because I openly said, yeah, no, but I believe they will release a good game, and I have complete faith. And then a week later, it's like, yeah, so guys, it's going to take a little longer. I still have faith that they will release a good game. I am a little worried that there might be bugs and stuff like that, but I do really believe that the devs want the best for this game, and that they really are trying what they can to make that happen. And the hate that I see coming their way is not helping, I think. So I think that is incredibly unnecessary. And of course it sucks, and I'm annoyed like everyone else. I want to play the game too, but it is what it is. We can't change it. So let's make the best of it and get through this period of a little more FM 24.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, some again, we feel like we're a bit of a broken record, to be honest, saying the same thing about, like, some of the comments are justified, some of the comments are unnecessary, and some of the comments are sort of like in the middle. There is a spread, obviously. I do think, and again, like the lads like Sion and Arron will probably agree, that a lot of the comments towards women's football have been more on the unnecessary side. and really aren't helpful at all. And again, we've been sort of saying, look, we've been excited to play. I mean, I've even been talking to my stream recently. My save next year, I've already now decided, it's partly because of the fact that it's been delayed. It's made me focus on this save now. I want to go back, and Si, you might know about this. Arron, feel free to laugh your head off at this point, right? I'm going to go back to British Steel from last year, which is like to win everything in England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Didn't complete it last year, by the way. But I now want to go back to it, win all those trophies, and win the women's equivalents at the same time, and have it all within that universe. And I thought, that would be amazing, I'll do that. And I can already see Si's face going, how many more trophies do you want to lose? Like,
how many did you manage to get last time?
I think it was like 24 out of the 35 or something. Maybe
oh, okay, it was more successful than I remember.
Yeah, and I won 3 European trophies that I didn't need to win. Which...
Don't you have shorter time now, though, than you had before? You could have more trophies to win with shorter time.
Look at me, Mr. Logic.
It's my first time. Let me do it. First time bringing some logic into the conversation. I felt like Mr. Wenger and also was doing the hand movements.
My point was that the delay hasn't lowered my interest in the women's game. If anything, it's probably heightened it a little bit more. Like Monique, I don't know, was your plan to play women's football, or were you focused on a men's save? Like, what was your initial 25 thoughts?
I hope that the Dutch women's division will be in there. I don't know yet, but that would be cool, because then I could take PSV to the women's team to the Champions League, the men's team. That is also their real life aspiration, so I think that would be quite cool to do. So I definitely am looking forward to playing women's football. I'm really curious what leagues there are going to be.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of the FM25 is the unknown, isn't it? Really, and we are filling the blanks in. But I mean, Arron, you said that you'd be tempted with you were saying you wanted to do Arsenal ladies, weren't you? That was your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm still doing that. That's just that's literally one of the most exciting things for me. Because again, I've been playing Football Manager, same as you as well, Tony. And so we've been playing Football Manager for so long. And when you're literally introducing a whole new world to us. So it's for us, that's really the main attraction. And it's not even just a bit I don't know. It could have been anything. If there's a whole brand new world into the game, for us, that's wow, this is a new part that we have never tapped in before. Because there's going to be other new features and stuff, but as Football Manager heads, I think instantly we're going to sort of know how to work around it. But when it comes to the women's football, many of us is literally going to have very minimal knowledge on it as well. But just the match engine side of things as well, it's wow, we're so used to the men's football, this is just going to be completely different. Hopefully as well, it's going to really show off the different animations and that sort of stuff in the match engine. So it's just really going to feel like we're just playing a complete different game. Of course, with a new interface as well, which I'm looking forward to, but I'm also not looking forward to. Because I'm so used to what I'm seeing and what I like to see on Football Manager, what I've seen previously for the last decade or so. Even though I've been calling for change, now I've got change. I'm I don't think I want to change. I don't think I want change now.
I think Arron makes a good point, Si, about how we probably presume women's football is going to play differently in the match engine, and it's sort of what I enjoy about managing in loads of different continents, because the game physically feels different now. The game feels different in South Africa than it feels in Europe. And when I was managing in Northern Ireland, it felt really different to when I was managing in England. So I am looking forward to that different way of playing.
But it's the language, sorry to cut you off, but it's also the language, the Texas and everything is just now it's gonna be different as well. So yeah, that sort of stuff I'm just really looking forward to. But you do mention different worlds for different South America. When you're in Brazil or Argentina, even the text Golazo or Gol, just in the commentary thing, it's that is different. It feels, and it just looks different as well. A long shot just looks different there. Yeah.
Little bit of atmosphere in the stadium's different. The animations, the ball movements, the goals feel slightly differently.
Exactly,
It's just a bit different.
So I'm hoping.
More importantly, we're all a little bit autopilot with our clubs and who we know. Women's football theoretically opens us up to a brand new world of clubs and stories that maybe we don't know a great deal about.
Yeah, I think it's really good. Like, there's some really interesting teams, some really interesting stories. I keep forgetting the name. I'm sure it's like London. Is it London Lionesses?
London
Lionesses is the England team, though, isn't it? There's the team that split from Millwall. Are they the London Lionesses?
London Lions,
London
I think,
Lions?
isn't it?
London Lions.
London City Lionesses, that's it. London
That's-
City
yeah.
Lionesses. Like, that's an interesting story, right? There's no equivalent in men's football because they used to be Millwall, now they're not Millwall. Because they split from the club, and you've got
There's
other
also-
teams that
Would
don't.
that be-
You know, in America, you've got 10, 15 teams that don't have. They don't directly align with the US men's team. So like, there's Angel City. There's like Orlando Pride. There's like, it's a completely different set of teams and players, and well, obviously the players are different, but badges, identities, everything. You're like, I don't know who's the good team. It does feel almost a bit like Pro Evo, but not quite. It's not like North London Red or whatever. But it's I like the idea that I'm gonna have to go in. I'm gonna have to learn this new thing, and it brings back that excitement I had when I was a kid, and I'd be like, I'm gonna go check out what's going on in Italy. Right now, I know who's in Serie A. Right now, I know what teams are in the Bundesliga, roughly, or like give or take. Like, I know who the good Dutch teams are. I know who the good Spanish teams are. Like, I know that Malaga are they've just gone back up to the second tier, but they fell on hard times, and like, I know all this stuff. Whereas like women's football, I'm like, no, there are things. I'd be like, who's this team? Why are they in the fourth tier with this amazing striker? Or like, who's this team? Why are they got like why do they play in a 40,000 seater stadium when they're a tiny team in Kazakhstan? I don't know. And it's I'm sure that's not the case.
Looking at some teams who are in the Premier League, going, why are they in the second division? Like, that makes no sense.
Yeah,
They should
right.
be in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And, like, there's great things like Durham Ladies, for example, are in the WSL 2, but they're not even like a non-league team for men's. Like, they're literally like a Sunday League team for men's. So they're like so much more advanced as the women's setup than the men's setup. And you're saying about the Millwall, I don't think there's an equivalent of that scenario in men's football either, with Durham Ladies and then their men's team being so far down the pyramid.
Yeah, it definitely throws up some really interesting questions, and like, I only know a handful of players, so it's like every player is new to me. I learn all their new skill sets, whereas now I know, like, I mean, okay, when the new game comes out, I'll find the 10 or 15 wonder kids and be like, okay, who is it this year? Endrick. Who's it this year? Prestiani or Naipan or whoever, right? Whereas like next year it's going to be, no, every player is new. Like, oh, okay, I know Fran Kirby, I know, I know the 10-50, I know Bon Marti, I know like the big players, but beyond them, it's like, okay, who fills out the rest of these squads? Who are the players playing in the second tier? Who are the players playing in other countries? Like, I don't think I know any of the players who play in Brazil, for example, if assuming the women's Brazilian league's in the game. Probably unlicensed, but if it is, right? So I think that opens up a whole world. And so here's the thing: you were asking the other guys if they're going to play if they're going to play as a women's team. And I think I've decided next year I'm going to do a journeyman. So I don't know if I'm going to play as a women's team, but I could, right? Like, it's just like, I'm role playing as a manager, and as a manager, I may or may not go to a women's team. Like, it actually male managers in the women's game is actually kind of common. Maybe it should happen more the other way as well. But I know, for example, actually Arsenal just sacked theirs, didn't they? Or he just left. Yeah, there are quite a lot of male managers in the women's game who then go back and forth to the men's game as well. So it's not that uncommon. Like, it's a natural part of their career.
Yeah. I suppose it's a game where we are basically storytellers. Then you're right. That setup there does allow for a realistic CV as you're moving around, going, okay, I'm going to start here, and I'm going to take that opportunity. Like, you're also saying there about like not knowing the players beyond the top sort of 10 or 15 and 20 in world football, which again, fair enough, I think is a fair acknowledgement for probably most of us. I would say I know a little bit about women's football. I wouldn't say I know a great deal. I certainly couldn't tell you most of the players in the WSL. I could tell you a reasonable handful, but not everyone. But I can't wait for that first video that drops that goes, here's the top 10 Wonder Kid women in FM25. I am ready for that video, Monique. That's going to be like, because imagine the first one where you get that Wonder Kid in your system and she goes on to become the greatest player of all time in game. Like, we've experienced it since day one as men, but for a women or a female player to experience that must be like incredible to think that that's now a possibility.
Yeah, I think also it being added in general just will create more buzz for the women's game, and I think that is so incredibly important because sexism is still a big thing in men's football, in women's football, just in general. And I think by the way Football Manager is implementing it, it's not forcing it upon anyone. You can play it if you want to. If you want to explore it, then that is open for you to do, and it will maybe pique a bit of curiosity, and like it's a really easy way to learn more about it. And like, if there's anything I know about FM players, is we love new leagues and discovering those new wonder kids. And like doing that in the women's game will be just as much fun as doing it in the men's game. And I hope that will also translate to real life and grow the game, but also just tolerance, like for each other.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned intolerance there, and you mentioned sexism, and I am going to ask, how have you found it by streaming? I mean, like, has that something that you've experienced yourself, like sort of coming in as a female FM player? I mean, I hope you haven't, but I'm aware that it does happen. But has that happened to you and experienced it? And if it has, then how did you deal with that?
It's not too bad. I mean, obviously, right now the player base of FM is growing a lot, and you can tell also on social media that there's a lot of people coming into the game, and that bubble is not the small bubble it was a few years ago. For the most part, I don't have to deal with it a lot. Like on stream, there's the occasional guy who tells me to go back to the kitchen. I'm an incredible cook though, so he doesn't need to tell me that. And I don't know, it's just right now it is bad because of women's football being added, and people blame the delay on that, which is ridiculous, quite frankly. If the J League would be added this year, they would also not be saying, oh, that's the reason the game got delayed. I've been assured that the women's game has absolutely nothing to do with the delay, and like it's as good as done. And then the whole story, oh, but they should have put their resources into the developers for the engine. And I'm like the women's team is so small. It took them over 4 years to get to this point. They can afford that. It's they are not the tiny indie studio they once were. And I don't know. I try to, sometimes I speak up, sometimes I ignore it. I guess it also depends a bit on my mood. I don't always feel like dealing with it because I feel like quite often it is people screaming really loud with zero substance to what they are actually screaming, and you just can't have objective conversations with these people. Like I can try, but I will just get like called names or whatever, and I don't have the energy to deal with it constantly, to be honest. So I just mute and live my life because I'm enjoying it, and if you don't want to watch me, you don't have to. It's everyone can do whatever they want. I will do that too. So
yeah, no, I feel that completely. I mean, you're saying, I think what we would feel as well. We don't have anywhere near what you have to deal with it. Even when we've mentioned it on stream about on these shows about women's football, and we read some of the comments that we get back. We've had messages in our WhatsApp group going, "It's exhausting, this, isn't it?" Like, and it's not even directed at us. So, like, yeah, 100%. Like, we sympathise, you know, and hopefully, you know, the space will, you know, be more accepting as we move forward. So, fingers crossed. But you know, as long as we all enjoy it, that's the main thing, right?
yeah, definitely.
There we go.
Do you feel like the additional the women's game is going to like change the player base? Because the player base at the minute is very predominantly men, and you know you're one of a handful, if even that, of streamers are you know who play Football Manager. In there are so many, you know, male streamers in this space, and that it's almost, you know, unique in that way. I mean, it's not unique and it's not a good thing, but like it is a much more male dominated space than most almost any other video game, I would imagine. And I don't know if that's that's not by design or anything or by nature of the community. A part of it's because it is a sport for a start, and it's tied in with the men's sport. So do you think this move will help move it, and do you think changes in wider women's football will help move that?
I think slowly, yes. I mean, I asked Miles while I was at SI, whether they know how much of their player base is female. They don't actually have the data on that, but what they do know is how many people play with a female manager in game, and that was less than 1%. So that the player base is small of women in Football Manager, that is no secret. I do think it will grow. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be 50-50. In football in general, fans are not 50-50. And slowly that is getting more level, but that is going to take time. And I think Football Manager itself it's not as mainstream as an EAFC, for instance, where I think the ratio male to female is a bit slightly more evened out, at least. It's quite niche, and you're looking at spreadsheets. You have to be into that. So I think it can still grow, but how much, I really don't know. I think adding the women's game will help. But that was also in big parts, how are they going to handle their marketing and stuff like that? Are they actively going to try and target women to play the game more? Because you also need to make an effort then to really pull women into the game. And what Miles said during the event was he really doesn't care who plays the game. As long as you enjoy it, then play it. And if you don't, then don't.
Yeah, can't disagree with that at all. Can you, Arron?
No, I can't. But I do think there should be something. I don't know who I'm talking to at this point, but there should be some sort of, not forcing it upon people, but just a fair opportunity at things like creating content with. So for an example, because again, I don't know how much I could actually say about this, but obviously one of the bonuses of being representing England actually as an esport manager, one of the bonuses is that you do have this opportunity to possibly go to international duty and create content with these footballers and that sort of stuff. So similar thing with FM25, maybe there's a possibility to create content with these female footballers in similar ways. ESC always have their cards, their FIFA cards and that. In my head, being an FM fan, I'm like, man, these who's doing the research? These attributes are so wrong. And I could just picture just having an FM profile and then having a footballer, do you agree, don't you agree? Or two footballers playing a 1v1 match, and they're both managers obviously playing 1v1 matches. And that's it can be fun content. And it can be content for us to enjoy as well. Wow, professional footballers are playing this, and it's not just men's, it's the women's and all that sort of stuff. So I think that things like that should be actively happening as well, rather than the women's just in the game there. You can play it if you want. Because personally, I can't see how that helps. Because I just don't know how that pushes other people, females, and I just don't know how that helps females play the game. So I just think there should be content out there as well. So it's actually reaching people. TikTok as well, possibly. I'm possibly ranting on about this a little bit as well, just throwing ideas about it.
I think you're right.
I just don't think having the women's in the game, FM25 is the year for it, women's in the game, anyone plays it, that's it. I just don't see how that helps.
I mean, it needs to end up in front of the right people's eyes. So you need to really cater your marketing to it as well.
Exactly.
I spoke to the Royal Dutch Football Federation. I wasn't available for the FM World Cup. Well, I did I had a call with them because they were considering sending me for it. And I also said, if FM is really gonna go down the esport route, you guys should be doing something with this. If the women's game is gonna get added, let's make some content. Stuff like that, I think, will really, create a new audience. And that way you can also get it in front of more women. And you need to get that initial point of contact with them. You need to get somewhere. And, right now it is so male-dominated that it doesn't really get out of their bubble, I think.
Yeah, you need to show that you're serious about it. And I think, Arron, you were saying there about, TikTok, social media presence, and all I could imagine all I pictured in my head, and it sort of ties in with what Monique's just saying there. During the last Euros, the FM staff were out in Germany with microphones, popping people about like who's your favourite wonder kid, who's your save. Like all you got to do is you got to go around WSL matches, interview fans, and go right. Women's football in. Who's the player to look out for? What's your save going to be? And you whack that up on social media, and that shows from a consumer point of view that SI are fully behind this, and they're treating it exactly the same as they would with their men's marketing. And that's
but
what
I don't want to just pull it all on
straight away.
Because that's why I said like, I don't know who I'm talking to, because I don't want to just pull it all on SI. Because again, I don't think like they're doing their part a bit as well. So I just again like it's there, and there's other people, other like companies, whether it's Sky Sports or whatever it is, they can pick up on these things. And they I know AFC like that's a different beast. I know it's just a different beast, but if we're talking about helping the women's game and that sort of stuff, and we're seeing it now with EAFC 25, right? I always see women's footballers taking part in a lot of content. I know there's a new game mode called Rush, and there's always Lauren James that is like the poster of it and all that sort of stuff, and that just makes it feel normal. And like you said, like there's not many people that use female managers in Football Manager, but when I'm playing pro clubs, it's like there's loads of female. And I can picture men creating female characters because they don't really, to them, it's been pushed in their face so much. The loading screen, it could be a woman in the loading screen 1 minute, or it could be a male footballer, but it just keeps changing. It's because it's in their face. I don't think they're pushing it, it's just in their face. And it's just like, there's nothing wrong with me using a woman's footballer. People are now playing Ultimate Team and their star player is a woman's footballer and that sort of thing. It's just, like, I think that just makes it feel normal. When I'm watching the content as well, there's no shade towards the women's game. It's these guys are playing well with these women, and these women are playing well with these guys. Like it's just football to a lot of them, and they're just so focused in their game anyway. They're not even thinking about the political side of things. It's just focused in the game. They want to win, getting the best players, and the way FIFA have done it is, or EAFC have done it is, the men and the women basically the same. The skill rating, the 89 and the 89 for men and women is the same thing. Same basically, yeah.
Well, I've said this as well previously, and Si, I think we'll come on to you next. Like I've said before about like the fact it's one universe. Men's and women's football is one universe in the same way that men's and women's MMA is one universe. Like so, when I play the UFC game, I have a male character that I'll play, but I also have a female character I'll play, and I'll play that as well. And it's great because it just gives me like another little championship to go and play with. And I go back to my men's different weight class, and I play with that different weight class, and I go this little weight class over here, and it's just part of it. Like I'd almost be pissed off if it wasn't there. I'd be like, well, where's that? Because that's a thing.
Same as wrestling as well.
We need to get to that point where same as wrestling as well, and we have to get to that point where that's the reaction going. Well, where, like what everyone's doing now, well, where's international football? You need to go, well, where is women's football? It's always meant to be there, surely.
Side touching it, I think a lot of people are actually going to fall into it because journeyman's quite a popular thing anyway. I think a lot of people are just going to fall into it naturally, like, this job's there, I'm just going to take it. I think a lot of people will fall into it naturally, but again, pushing it to a larger fan base, that's going to be quite a job, yeah.
Here's the question then, Si, as Arron has just alluded to there. It goes into the journey person save, right? Let's imagine that we're going to create a person here, right? That they're going, I'm going to take a woman's job. That's going to be really easy. And then they get sacked, right? And they realise that women's football is not quite as easy as they've maybe imagined in their heads. And then you've got to try and go like, all right, I'm totally fine with that and move on. Like, whereas when you get sacked in Estonia, you'd be like, well, it's Estonian football, isn't it?
Well, you see, what happens then is you have your brother, who is also an ex-footballer, go on TV and complain that the English managers aren't getting a chance because your brother was sacked in charge of a women's team. Yeah, that's what you've got to do, and say that why aren't English managers getting a chance? Yeah, it's because you and your brother had disaster careers. The Nevilles, by the way, in case anyone's wondering, who have a very successful sporting sister that many people don't know about. I believe she's a British netball player. Yeah. And I believe their dad was also a sport. Neville was a sporting, or granddad, Neville. The great Neville Empire. Anyway, there is another Neville footballer, but I don't believe she's related. I think she's Welsh, if I remember correct. And she plays in WSL. She's one to look out for. There you go, Neville in the WSL. Actually, there was something else Monique mentioned a minute ago I wanted to ask about, which, well, you didn't say it, but I know you did it. The World Cup, you took part in the qualifiers, didn't you? Which anyone who doesn't know, Arron didn't have to go through because he cheated and jumped his way there. I'm gonna set him off. No, it's okay.
Yeah,
Can you tell, like, what was that like?
Well, I also almost cheated my way into that because I was actually in Slough to support White Callum, who was doing his little managing debut there. So I wasn't available for the qualifiers. And they emailed me and they were like, yeah, can we like plan a call? Because you are obviously like a content creator. We do not know any Dutch football manager content creators. So like, can we like chat? And it was like, oh, so I guess they want to know about the game and like they want to see a bit like what the community is like and stuff like that. And they were like, yeah, no, but like maybe you could go. And I was like, wait, what? That is what this call is about? And I low-key panicked. And I was a little too honest. I said I wasn't that good at the game, which I mean, arguably I'm not. But I was like, it is a really fucking good story if you bring a girl to the World Cup, because I can guarantee you that I'm going to be the only one.
Well, there weren't any,
greatest
were
thing
there?
is you
I
have
mean,
the
there were none of
assistant
the
manager
competitors.
anyway, so it could have been.
Yeah,
it
they
could have been a
had
possibility.
the Netherlands has an assistant manager. He does like the EAFC stuff, and
He's a cool guy.
I
as
believe
well,
he had played FM for 1 week before he
Yeah.
came along. So
But his reactions, he totally got wrapped into it. Even though he's only been playing it for a week, when he got into it and it really mattered, yeah, his reactions were crazy as well.
So if they come back next time, having seen it, what do you think you would change your mind, or do you think you would go for it?
I mean, I would love to be there for sure. I'm not sure whether my strength would be with competing. I think we could be fairly certain the Netherlands would not be taking that trophy home. But I don't know. I think that weekend was also United against Liverpool. I believe the Dutch delegation ended up going there. So
Yeah.
I don't think they minded that they were out.
Okay, so
No,
what
I
you,
don't know.
So what you mean is you're not really that fussed about doing it as long as you get tickets to a football match as well. So okay,
I mean, if that's in, like, free
But
trip.
there are many different things to do at the World Cup, though. Because to be fair, there was, like I was going to say earlier, there was, like, obviously the host, there was a woman host as well, but there was, like, content creators there as well. And we saw how they got World Cup introduced, or invited, some content creators who weren't participating, but they're just there for the day or two. And that's always another thing as well, that they're going to, obviously they're aware of, that was their first World Cup, so then now they can definitely start to branch out to other creators as well. And they're certainly going to be asking us for our recommendations as well.
So here's a
Yeah.
question: Mooney, how do you think they introduce the women's game into that format of the World Cup? Like, is it just going to be one of the leagues will be played in the women's game, or because I guess they do the draft at the end? I don't know. We don't know what they're going to do with draft mode. I imagine you choose men's game or women's game, and you do one or the other. But like, do you think it could be that like Arron was assigned Dino Zagreb, right? If instead maybe they'd assign him Brighton women or Arsenal women, he'd love it. He'd love that. Do you think that's the way they'd have to do it, or do you think it has to be a separate thing? Sorry, go on.
I don't think it has to be separate, because if you do that, then you're gonna still like segregate it. And I think the whole idea of normalizing that it can both coexist is very important. I'm not sure how it would be received by the broader audience if you force it upon people. But I would love to see it. I think it is a good challenge, and I think it is a fun challenge, and I think it should be part of it. And I don't know. If people talk negatively about you, they're still talking, and there is still promotion, and it is still being mentioned. So I would love to see it.
Yeah, I'd be all for that. You know, you've got four leagues to go. Two women's, two men's. I see no reason for that. And as you say, definitely mix it up, because it's got to be intergendered. I think, because as you say, if it's split, then you're right. It's very much a case of, oh no, we can't play together, but we should all play nicely together. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Is there anything that you've disliked so far, Monique, with the game itself? Is there anything that just gets you angry unnecessarily so, or?
Nothing I really like dislike. I think it can get a bit repetitive at times, especially stuff like press conferences and just that whole going through my individual training and praising every single guy because I need to get that morale up. Some things can get a bit dreadful. It would be nice if I can just walk into that dressing room and be like, all right, guys, you've been doing well. I love you. And that's it. And that they're then all happy instead of having to do that individually for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And they get so unnecessarily pissed when they have a 7.4 training rating and I don't notice that and I praise them and they go like, well, I don't think I trained that well. And I'm like, okay, I'm so sorry. I will never compliment you again.
Yeah, the interactions are probably up there for me as well, yeah.
That's probably the thing as well, isn't it? It's like, how much do you delegate at this point as well, isn't it? Like you say, there is some stuff that's just repetitive and... do you take press conferences out? Do you take the training thing? I'll let you in a little secret. I have never praised players in training. Never. And that's probably why I'm not as successful at it. But I'm like, just, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not telling you did a good job because I don't want to fall in the trap that you've just done there. But going, oh, you've done well. And they're like, no, I haven't. Like, well, fine.
Yeah, why is it a problem? Yeah. I've never been like work and I'm like, so I was like, good job. I'm like, no, I haven't. How dare you come and tell me that?
Right? It's just so unrealistic.
How dare you? Like,
I'm just going to be like...
I need a team meeting. I'm telling everyone about this.
Exactly, yeah. And then like other people from work are going into the manager's room going, hey, I tell you, you've really pissed off Tony by telling him he was doing a good job. You might want to go and sort that one out.
I mean, I have this thing, yeah. I have to do as many press conferences as I can because if in my profile it says that I never show up for the media, I get low-key depressed. Like, I cannot handle that. Like, I need almost everything at 100% except for player loyalty. We don't do loyalty over here, but the rest...
Oh, man.
That needs to be 100.
I want to know if you can still get sacked for that. I thought this was a myth, but I saw it happen to Dr. Benji.
Or for not going on the press conferences?
Many years ago, yes. And it's one of the few things that can get you sacked one day into your save.
Is that depending upon like the actual promises about like if you've been embroiled in media controversies before and then you go,
yes,
oh, I promised to do it better, and then you don't turn up and then they boot you straight out?
Exactly. If you send your assistant to the first press conference, they fire you before you've even had a chance to before you even do the first match. So essentially, you promise them you're going to turn up. Yeah. You don't turn up to the very first press conference. You send your assistant, and they sack you. I found that fascinating that that's in the game. Because essentially you have at no other point does it force you to attend a press conference. Just that one. But I want to know if that's still in the game, and it's kind of hard to manufacture. So I want to see if anyone's able to do it.
But I know there's an emergency meeting. If you miss the emergency meeting as well, you run the risk of just automatically getting. Oh God! That's an experience.
This is the welcome to your new club press conference. If you skip that, they sack you.
Yeah.
I mean that's fair. That is fair.
That's fair, because it's based off previous experience, right? So it's based off what you've done previously. Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
But if you never turned up to the press conferences, and the game's like, we're going to sack you because you don't turn up to press conferences.
Yeah, but just think about the logic, though. Like, you've just hired a manager, you've set the room out, you've got the press involved, and then the manager doesn't turn up. I'd be telling the press right there and then going, we've sacked him. We've got rid of the manager because, you know what? If they can't be bothered to turn up here, then we'll get rid. We'll go and find another one. Right?
If you have to do a meeting, you've had to have scheduled it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you schedule a meeting and they don't turn up, that's on you. You've got no one to blame.
It's not like it's a surprise either, is it? Oh, what? Because
you get the two options, right? Done that before. You do get the two options before you get to the inbox. You do get that two options, right? And it's one of them is like for the meeting. Do you want to do the press meeting, whatever it is, at the start of the game? Yeah. So if you press yes and then you skip the meeting, I mean, that's on you. You ain't got no one else to blame. That's on you. But I think, there's two options in it. It's the meeting option and play inter-friendlies or something like that with your reserve teams and Yeah, so there's that two
Yeah.
options. Yeah. Don't organise a
always
meeting and don't turn
always
up.
tick that one off as well. Never do the inter-club friendly.
Yeah, I never do that. It's
and
annoying.
have that morale-crushing defeat to your reserves. You don't need that on day one. That's the Tony Jameson special. That's very much like, hello everyone. Oh, the reserves are good, aren't they? Right, let's play them. Okay, so just a little bit of lack of logic. Is that what we're thinking is the thing that frustrates us with the game?
I think so, yeah.
Common sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, players complain they've not been playing because they've been out injured for 6 months. I'm not playing much. You've got a broken leg. Calm down.
Or when they said you signed them and that you were gonna like win, and then your striker just doesn't score, and like that's what we got you for, babe.
Yeah.
You need to score those goals for us. It's like your job.
Or you're buying a midfielder and he's like, oh, hey, I need a promise. You're going to promise to improve the midfield. I was like, mate, I literally just bought you to improve the midfield.
Right?
That's the one.
I hate it.
You're the best player in the world in that position. Who am I going to get in that's better? You're the guy.
I had that today as well. I'm like, brother, what are you doing to me, man? Or there's one guy, right? I signed him on fringe player. And then I bought a first team centre back and the fringe player complaining like, I'm scared you just signed someone to replace me. I'm like, brother, you're a fringe player. I've just signed a starting centre back. You're here to be a fringe. Ain't nobody taking a fringe position right now.
I think what we're forgetting at this point is that footballers are dicks. I think we've forgotten that, haven't we?
They really are. They are spoiled and they make too much money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And we all love them for it as well. That's the worst part, I think.
We need a new term though, because we can't call them dicks when the women are also in the game. We need a different term.
That's true, actually. Yeah, you know what? This is the thing. Mrs. J actually mentioned this to me the other day. She's like, "You are going to have to like think of new language on stream. If you do call a player a dick, you've got to think about what would you call the female player." She went, "You're going to have to think about that." I was like, "I'll think about that." And I've still got no idea as to what I can say. It's not going to get me in trouble.
There was the word.
So let me know in the comments.
Earlier,
don't let me know in the comments.
Yeah,
as to
don't.
what I can say. Don't.
See, I'm lucky. So when I'm losing and my players are doing stupid things, I blame the game all the time. It's never me and it's never the players. It's always the game. I blame the game anyway.
But I'm trying to treat these pixels as real players because I've
there's sometimes,
imagined it in my head.
There's sometimes I do a back
So-
pass like, what are you doing? Yeah, but my thing's like, you donut or something like that. Yeah, I've got the weirdest disses. Oh my god, you
Can I get
absolute
away with
bagel.
donut? I don't know. Maybe someone would still be angry about donuts, so I'll have to think about that.
Oh, don't mention donuts. That's they call me
donut
donut
as well. Yeah.
That's what it is. Although I reckon it's Americans, so because they spelt donut with D-O-N-U-T, so anyone who spells it that way.
I just got it.
Yeah. So they've already left the podcast because of the word Monique used earlier.
Yeah, so if you're still here now and the spelling of donut angers you, then you've done well. So well done. Comment donut if you've got this far. Spelt however you want. Okay, well, tell you what, let's start wrapping it up then. So where are we? We're
on a podcast, Tony.
Yeah, I know, but are we really in the grand scheme of things?
Video.
Did we discuss what your FM25 plans were? Have you locked them down? Have you changed them?
I haven't locked them down yet. I need to know the leagues first before I really make my decision.
Cool. Sit on that fence. I like it. Cool. Okie dokie. Well, I'll tell you what. I think this has been fun. And what I think we need to do now is we're going to do some Patreon stuff, which is going to be fun as well. It's not going to be the Dr. Joseph Venglos pub quiz, which we did last week. If you haven't watched that, go back and watch it. Arron, where can people find the Patreon content if they want to check out the pub quiz?
They can go to patreon.com/the FM show pod. That's patreon.com/the FM show pod, where you can support the channel from as little as £3.
Absolute bargain. And Si, can they check us out on their social media and emails?
At the FM Show Pod on all the socials. The FM Show Pod at gmail.com if you want to email us.
Excellent.
And you can
stuff.
join us on Discord as well.
Yes, do that. Do that as well. And more importantly, Monique, we need to plug yourself. Where can people find you, your content, anything else that you're talking about on the internet? Let people know.
Yeah, I'm literally everywhere. If it's social media, I've probably got it. But I mostly stream on Twitch. So if you want to check in sometime, you can do that at Mooonostreams. And that is MOONO streams.
Yeah, and that's how you pronounce it, not like how we pronounced it offline, which is Mono or Moonu or Mono. So we did it all wrong.
It's all good. I don't care. You can say whatever you want.
We tried. Right, okay. Links to everything is in the description below. We're going to go and do Patreon now. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Hope you've enjoyed it. Give us some love in the likes and the comments. We'll speak to you all next week. Take care of yourselves, everyone. Bye now.
Toodles.